She was betrayed and abandoned by her husband, but when his son needed a transplant, she was the only compatible donor, and what she did shocked everyone. Before we continue, comment on which city you are watching from. And at the end, don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy. The Chicago sky was heavy with gray clouds, as if it sensed the storm brewing in Paul's life. He clutched the medical report, his hands shaking, the paper crumpling under his grip. The cold black words seemed to scream, "Severe renal failure." His son Mark, only 8 years old, needed a kidney transplant. Urgently. In the hospital room, Dr. Emily kept her voice steady, but her hazel eyes held a compassion Paul didn't want to face. "The waiting list is long, Mr. Davis. Compatibility for transplants is rare, and time is not on our side. We need to act fast, or—" She paused, but Paul knew what came next. Mark, his boy with curly hair, bright eyes, and a smile that warmed his heart, now relied on machines that hummed like a cruel reminder of fate. Paul could barely breathe. Slumped in the hard chair of the hospital waiting room, he felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. Guilt gnawed at him. 10 years ago he had a family, a wife, Anna, who was his rock, his home. They dreamed together, laughed together, planned a future with kids running through the house, but he destroyed it. He abandoned her when she needed him most, when grief and pain consumed her. He chose Amanda, the woman now crying beside him, gripping his hand as if she could hold on to Mark's life with that gesture. Amanda, her blonde hair messy and eyes red, looked at the doctor with desperation. "What about the tests? Can someone in the family donate? Please, doctor, there has to be a way." Her voice quivered, almost begging. Dr. Emily sighed, adjusting her glasses. "We tested all the close relatives who volunteered. Unfortunately, none are compatible. Not you, not Mr. Davis, not Mark's grandparents. We'd need a miracle or a rare match from an outside donor." The word miracle echoed in Paul's mind like a verdict. He stared at the floor, unable to meet Amanda's gaze. The silence between them was heavy, filled with unspoken truths. He knew Amanda blamed him, even if she didn't say it. She always blamed him for everything, from small arguments to their biggest failures. That night in their Chicago apartment, Paul paced the living room. The TV was on, muted, playing a Cubs game in the background. Mark was still in the hospital, hooked to tubes and machines, and every passing second felt like an eternity. Amanda was in the bedroom, crying softly, as she had every night since the diagnosis. Paul couldn't approach her. He couldn't offer comfort because he had none to give. He sank onto the couch, phone in hand, staring at the screen as if it held answers. He scrolled through his contacts, names flashing by like ghosts of a life he'd rather forget. Friends, co-workers, distant acquaintances. And then he saw it. Anna. Her name brought a lump to his throat, a mix of shame, guilt, and a longing he never admitted, even to himself. It had been 10 years since they spoke. 10 years since he left her, broken, drowning in her pain, to start a new life with Amanda. His finger hovered over the keyboard. Text Anna, after everything he'd done, after betraying her, abandoning her, erasing their past as if it never existed. But this was for Mark, for his son. He swallowed his pride, took a deep breath, and typed a message. "Please, it's about my son. He needs a kidney transplant. I'm desperate. Can you help with a compatibility test?" He sent it to everyone on his list, including her, expecting no reply. But deep down, a small part of him, one he tried to ignore, hoped someone would answer. Across the city in a cozy Lincoln Park apartment, Anna, now 35, wiped her hands on a dish towel after a long shift at the hospital where she worked as a nurse. The small space, decorated with photos of solo road trips and hard-earned smiles, was her sanctuary. She'd learned to live without Paul, without the love she once thought would last forever. But the scars remained, hidden beneath the strength she showed the world. Her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. Expecting a text from a co-worker or her mum, who often sent pictures of her golden retriever, Anna froze when she saw the name. Paul. The air left her lungs. 10 years. 10 years of silence, of nights crying herself to sleep, of unanswered questions. And now, he was back. as if nothing had happened. Her heart raced as she opened the message. She read it once, twice, 3 times. "My son, transplant. Help." The phone slipped from her hands, landing on the counter with a dull thud. Hot tears rolled down her face, not just for Paul, but for a child she'd never met, an 8-year-old boy fighting for his life. They were for herself, too, for everything she'd lost, for the pain that still lingered. Anna sank to the kitchen floor, her back against the cabinets, letting the tears fall. The past, which she'd fought so hard to bury, was knocking loudly. What would she do? Ignore the plea as he ignored her years ago, or follow her heart, still beating with compassion despite its wounds? The apartment's silence screamed, and Anna knew her decision would change everything. Back at the hospital, Paul wandered the sterile white corridors, his footsteps echoing alongside the beeping monitors. He paused at Mark's room. The boy slept, so small in the oversized bed, curls fanned across the pillow. Paul's chest tightened. "I'll save you, buddy," he whispered, though he knew promises weren't enough. He needed a miracle. In her apartment, Anna couldn't sleep. Paul's message burned in her mind. Delete it, block him, move on. It seemed easier. But the image of a frail, innocent boy haunted her. She knew the pain of loss, the void it left behind. Rising, she grabbed her phone and reread the text. "Please, my son." Paul's words were a plea and a reopened wound. Anna made her choice. She wouldn't tell anyone, not her mom, not her friends. She'd drive to the hospital in the morning and take the compatibility test, not for Paul, but for Mark, because despite everything, she believed a child's life outweighed any grudge. But as she prepared for bed, a question gnawed at her. If she was a match, could she face Paul, look into his eyes, and relive everything she'd tried to forget? Her heart wasn't sure it was ready. The night felt endless, the answer as uncertain as Mark's fate. By morning, a shy sun barely pierced the curtains. Anna looked in the mirror, her eyes puffy from a sleepless night. She put on her nurse's scrubs, more out of habit than need, and grabbed her car keys. On the radio, an old Springsteen song started playing, one she and Paul used to sing together, laughing in the days when love felt eternal. She snapped it off, anger surging like a wave. The hospital was a 40-minute drive through Chicago's bustling streets, but it felt like forever. Every red light was a chance to turn back, to forget the plea. But Anna kept going, her heart pounding, hands gripping the wheel. At the hospital, she parked and took a deep breath, summoning courage. The building was familiar, a place where she'd saved countless lives. But today, she wasn't just a nurse walking through those doors. She was a woman carrying a decade of hurt. In the waiting room, Paul stood by the window, looking out at the city. He seemed smaller than she remembered, thinner, with deep circles under his eyes from sleepless nights. When he saw her, his face lit up with a mix of relief and shame. "Anna, you came," he said, his voice hoarse, almost a whisper. She met his gaze, her eyes cold as steel. "I'm not here for you. I'm here for your son. Where do I take the test?" Her words cut like a knife, each syllable laced with restrained anger. Paul lowered his head, unable mere to sustain her gaze. "Thank you," he mumbled. But Anna was already moving past him, heading to the reception desk. The reunion was a punch to the gut. Anna felt her chest tighten, as if the hospital air had thickened. As she walked to the lab, memories hit like lightning. She remembered their shared apartment, the smell of coffee in the morning, the nights Paul held her, promising everything would be okay. But it wasn't. When she lost their baby at 6 months pregnant, her world collapsed. Anna sank into depression, a void swallowing her day by day. Paul tried at first, holding her, saying it would be fine. But he couldn't handle her grief, the silence that filled their home. And then, Amanda appeared. In the lab, a young nurse with a warm smile drew Anna's blood. "It's for the kid, right? Mark, he's a sweetheart, you know, always smiling, even so weak." The nurse's words touched Anna, but also stung. She didn't want to know Mark. She didn't want to care. But the thought of a suffering child stirred something deep within her. As she waited for the results, she sat in a plastic chair, heart racing. Paul appeared at the door, hesitant. "Can I talk to you?" he asked, his voice shaky. Anna glared at him, her eyes blazing. "Talk about what, Paul? That you're sorry? That you didn't mean to hurt me? Or that you need me now because you've got no one else?" Her words dripped with venom, years of pain finding a voice. He flinched, as if slapped. "I know I don't deserve your help, Anna, but it's for Mark. He's everything to me." His mention of the boy made Anna clench her fists. "You don't deserve anything," she said, her voice low but sharp. "But a kid doesn't deserve to pay for your mistakes. That's why I'm here." The silence that followed was thick, heavy with unspoken words. Paul opened his mouth, but Dr. Emily appeared, holding a clipboard. "Ms. Anna, we have the results." Anna's heart stopped for a moment. She looked at the doctor, then at Paul, whose eyes were wide with anticipation. "You're a match," Dr. Emily said, her tone blending relief and caution. "A perfect match. You could save Mark's life." The world spun. Anna's legs wobbled, but she stayed upright. A match. She, the woman Paul abandoned, was his son's only hope. Fate seemed to mock her, dragging her back to a past she'd fought to forget. "I need time," she said, her voice barely audible. "I can't decide now." The doctor nodded, understanding. "It's a big decision. Take your time." But Paul, desperate, stepped forward. "Anna, please. He doesn't have much time." She turned to him, eyes brimming with tears. "You don't get it, Paul. It's not just about the transplant. It's about everything you did, everything I went through because of you." Tears she'd fought to hold back escaped. She turned and left the lab, her heart in pieces. In the hallway, she leaned against the wall, struggling to breathe. How could she do this? How could she face the pain of reliving it all? Meanwhile, Amanda, who'd arrived at the hospital moments earlier, watched from a distance. She saw Anna leave the lab, her face flushed, eyes wet. She saw Paul standing there with an expression she knew too well. Amanda clutched her purse, jealousy burning like wildfire. She knew who Anna was. She knew what Anna meant to Paul, even if he never admitted it. "It's just for Mark," she muttered, trying to convince herself. But deep down she feared Anna's presence was more than a coincidence. It was a threat. Anna drove back to her apartment, tears blurring her vision. She was on her day off, and the city's hum felt distant. At home, she collapsed on the couch, her phone buzzing with Paul's messages. "Please call me, we need to talk." She deleted each one, but Mark's image, a boy she'd never seen, stayed with her. At the hospital, she'd overheard nurses talking about him. "He's so brave," they said. "Always asking for his dad, even so weak." Anna closed her eyes, picturing the boy's face. Did he look like Paul? Did he have the same brown eyes that once made her fall in love? Night fell, and Anna sat in the dark, the apartment's silence amplifying her thoughts. She remembered losing her baby, the emptiness that consumed her. Paul wasn't there to hold her hand. He left her alone, drowning in sorrow, while he ran to Amanda's arms. Now he asked for her help. Asked her to save his son with Amanda, the woman who took her place. Was it fair, was it right, but above all she thought of Mark, an innocent child who deserved to live. Anna rose, walking to the window. Chicago pulsed outside, oblivious to her pain. She grabbed her phone, staring at Paul's message, "You can save my son." The weight of those words crushed her. She could say no. She could move on, leave the past behind. But something inside, maybe compassion, maybe the strength she'd built alone, told her she couldn't turn away. Not from a child. Anna made her decision. She got up, her body heavy, as if carrying a decade of grudges. While making coffee, her mind drifted to years ago, to days when she and Paul were happy, or so she thought. Memories came in sharp, painful flashes, like a movie she couldn't pause. 10 years earlier, Anna and Paul met at a friend's barbecue, under the twinkling lights of a warm Chicago summer. He was charming, his smile making the world feel lighter. She, young and full of dreams, fell hard. They danced to country tunes, laughed at silly stories, shared hopes. Months later they were married, living in a small apartment filled with plans. They painted the walls together, bought thrift store furniture, dreamed of a future with kids' laughter echoing through the halls. Anna remembered how Paul held her hand, promising nothing would tear them apart. But life had other plans. When she got pregnant, their joy felt complete. They set up a nursery, picked names, imagined their baby's face. But at 6 months, tragedy struck. A sharp pain, a rush to the hospital, and the news that shattered her. The baby didn't survive. Anna sank into a void she couldn't explain. She stopped eating, stopped sleeping, just cried, lost in grief. Paul tried at first, holding her, saying it would be okay. But his patience wore thin. He couldn't handle her sorrow, the silence that filled their home. And then Amanda appeared. Anna still recalled the day she found out about the affair, a text on Paul's phone left open on the kitchen table. "Meet you tonight, babe." The word babe was a knife. When she confronted him, he denied it, then confessed, then begged forgiveness. But forgiveness didn't come. Anna watched him pack, his eyes down, unable to face her. "I need space, Anna. I can't handle this," he said, as if her pain was a burden. He left her alone with an empty nursery and a broken heart. Amanda, the woman who stole her future, became the new center of Paul's life. Now Anna wiped away an unbidden tear. She didn't want to remember, didn't want to feel. But deciding to take the compatibility test brought it all back. Knowing she was a match for Mark, Paul and Amanda's son, felt like a cruel twist of fate. She could save a life, but at what cost? Facing Paul every day, seeing Amanda, the woman who took her place. The weight was too much. She decided she needed to see Mark. She put on her scrubs like armor and drove to the hospital. In the ICU hallway, she asked a colleague to let her in quietly. "I just want to see the boy," she said, her voice steady but her heart trembling. The colleague nodded, understanding. "He's a gem, Anna, you'll see." Entering the room, Anna's breath caught. Mark lay there, tiny in the big bed, curls splayed on the pillow. He looked so fragile, hooked to tubes, but there was a light in his face. He opened his eyes, offering a shy smile. "Are you a nurse like Aunt Emily?" he asked, his voice weak but curious. Anna swallowed hard, forcing a smile. "Yeah, I am. Just checking on you." Mark looked at her, his brown eyes shining. "My dad's real sad, you know. He thinks I don't see, but he cries when he thinks I'm asleep. He doesn't want me to be scared." The boy's words hit like a blow. Anna's heart clenched, torn between compassion and anger. Compassion for Mark, so small, so brave. Anger at Paul, who now suffered for his son but wasn't there when she needed him. "Your dad loves you a lot," she said, choking on the words. Mark smiled again. "You're nice. You remind me of an aunt I made up in my head but never met." The innocent comment broke something in Anna. She held his hand, small and warm, and vowed to herself she'd save this boy. Meanwhile, Amanda arrived at the hospital, tense as a cornered animal. She entered Mark's room, forcing a smile. "Hey, buddy, how you feeling today?" she asked, stroking his face. But her eyes were elsewhere, searching for Paul, for signs he was pulling away. Paul was in the hallway, talking to Dr. Emily. She said she needs time. "But how much time, Doc? Mark doesn't have time." His voice was a mix of desperation and frustration. The doctor placed a hand on his shoulder. "It's a tough call, Mr. Davis. Donating a kidney isn't just physical, it's emotional. Give her space." But Paul didn't want to hear it. He needed Anna, needed her to say yes. And deep down, he feared what it meant to have her so close again. That night, Amanda confronted Paul at home. The apartment was dark, lit only by a dim lamp. "You still feel something for her, don't you?" she asked, her voice trembling with anger and insecurity. Paul looked away, his silence louder than words. "It's for Mark, Amanda. Just Mark." But she knew it wasn't true. She felt Paul slipping away, like sand through her fingers. "You never loved me like you loved her, did you?" "I was always second best," she said, tears streaming. Paul didn't answer, because he couldn't. The truth was a poison eating at them both. In Anna's apartment, the night mirrored her emotions. Her phone rang, shattering the silence. It was Dr. Emily. "Anna, I know you asked for time, but we need an answer. Mark's condition is worsening." He doesn't have long. Anna gripped the phone, her heart racing as Dr. Emily's voice echoed. The apartment's silence amplified the weight of those words. She closed her eyes, her chest tight, as if an invisible hand squeezed her soul. Mark's image, his curls, his frail smile, came rushing back. She knew what she had to do, but saying it aloud felt like crossing a chasm. "I'll donate," she said finally, her voice steady but trembling at the edges. "Schedule the surgery, doctor. I'm doing this for him." Dr. Emily sighed in relief. "Thank you, Anna. You're giving him a chance. I'll call tomorrow with details." Anna hung up without another word, the phone falling to her lap. She stared out the window at Chicago's twinkling skyline, oblivious to the storm inside her. The decision was made, but the fear of what came next, facing Paul, dealing with Amanda, exposing her vulnerability, consumed her. At the hospital, Dr. Emily rushed to tell Paul. He was in the hallway, staring at the floor as if answers hid in the tiles. "She said yes," the doctor announced, a faint smile on her lips. Paul looked up, eyes wide. "Anna, she's donating." His voice mixed relief and disbelief. Dr. Emily nodded. "Yes, we'll prep for surgery, but Paul, she's making a huge sacrifice. Respect her boundaries." He nodded, but his heart raced. Knowing Anna, after everything, was willing to save his son filled him with gratitude and a guilt that burned like fire. That night, Paul tried calling Anna. The phone rang, but she didn't answer. He left a voicemail, his voice thick with emotion. "Anna, I don't know how to thank you. You're Mark's hope. I'll never forget this." In her apartment, Anna listened to the message but deleted it without replying. She didn't want to hear his voice, didn't want to feel anything but the duty driving her. The next days were a race against time. Anna underwent tests, signed forms, listened to detailed explanations about the surgery. Dr. Emily was kind, but blunt. "It's safe, but not risk-free. Are you sure?" Anna nodded, her gaze steady. "I am." Encounters with Paul were unavoidable. He'd appear in the hallways, always with a look of gratitude mixed with hesitation. "Anna, can I buy you a coffee, just to talk?" he tried one grey morning. She cut him off with an icy stare. "I'm not here for coffee, Paul. I'm here for your son. Let's keep it that way." He backed off, hurt, but respected her wishes. Her words were a wall, but every fleeting glance between them carried something more, a spark neither wanted to acknowledge. Amanda was unraveling. She saw Paul and Anna together, even if just discussing surgery details. She saw the looks, the silences, the tension. One afternoon, visiting Mark, she vented to a nurse friend. "She's here to save my son, but it feels like she's taking everything from me. Paul, he's different." The nurse tried to soothe her. "It's just stress, Amanda. He's focused on Mark." But Amanda knew it wasn't just that. She felt Paul drifting, pulled by an invisible thread to Anna. The day before the surgery, Anna arrived for final prep. In the hallway, she found Paul holding a bouquet of daisies, her favorite flower. "I know you don't want to talk," he began, hesitant, "but I had to give you these, for what you're doing." Anna looked at the flowers, her chest tight. For a moment she wanted to take them, to believe there was good in the gesture. But hurt won out. "Keep your flowers, Paul. I don't need them." She brushed past, but his gentle touch on her arm stopped her. The tension was electric, a taut wire ready to snap. Before Paul could speak, Dr. Emily appeared, calling Anna to sign final papers. On surgery day, the hospital was a stage of bottled emotions. Anna arrived early, in surgical garb, pale but resolute. Mark was wheeled in, his big eyes scared. "Miss Anna, you'll stay with me, right?" he asked, voice shaky. She held his hand, forcing a smile. "I will, buddy. We'll do this together." The OR doors opened and they were taken in, leaving Paul and Amanda in the waiting room. Paul dropped to his knees, hands covering his face, praying for the first time in years. He knew that after today, nothing would be the same. The surgery was just the start of a new battle, one not just about saving a life, but facing the ghosts he'd created. In the OR, Anna looked at Mark, who gripped her hand tightly. "It's going to be okay, right?" she said, voice soft but firm. He nodded, and the OR lights shone down like a spotlight as the anesthesia took him under. "I trust you, Miss Anna," he whispered before drifting off. Anna's throat tightened, but she stayed strong. The OR doors closed, and the silence was deafening. Hours dragged like an eternity. Each tick of the waiting room clock was a cruel reminder of what was at stake. Paul paced, heart pounding. In the OR, the surgery proceeded with precision. When it ended, Dr. Emily emerged, exhausted but relieved. "It went well," she said, removing her mask. "Mark's stable, and Anna's in recovery." "It was a success." Paul collapsed into a chair, tears streaming. "Thank you, doctor, thank you." Amanda beside him let out a sob, but her relief was tinged with something darker. She knew the surgery was just the beginning. Anna was now more than a donor, a presence threatening everything she clung to. In recovery, Anna woke slowly, her body heavy, mind foggy. The pain was a constant hum, but bearable. She opened her eyes to soft room light. A nurse adjusted her IV, smiling gently. "You were amazing, Anna. The boy's okay because of you." Anna nodded weakly, relieved. "He's okay?" she asked, voice hoarse. The nurse confirmed. "He is. You both are." Anna closed her eyes, a tear escaping. She'd done what she promised. But what now? Hours later, Paul appeared at her recovery room door, hesitant, holding the same daisies she'd rejected. He looked older, as if worry had carved new lines in his face. "Anna," he started, voice shaking, "I don't know how to thank you." She met his gaze, tired but firm. "You don't have to. I did what was right." But Paul couldn't hold back. He stepped forward, sitting by her bed. "You're more than I deserve. Always were." He took her hand, and for the first time, she didn't pull away. His touch was warm, familiar, stirring emotions Anna fought to ignore. "Paul, stop," she said, but her voice was softer, almost broken. He shook his head, eyes wet. "I need to say this. Before Mark's diagnosis, Amanda, she'd already left. She came back for him, but our marriage, it's been over for a long time." Anna frowned, surprised. "Why tell me this?" she asked, heart racing. Paul looked down, voice a whisper. "Because I was a coward. Because I never stopped feeling something for you, but I didn't have the guts to face my mistakes." His words hit like lightning. Anna's chest tightened, not with anger, but something more dangerous. Longing. She wanted to scream, to send him away, but something held her back. Maybe the exhaustion, the anesthesia, or the vulnerability of the moment. They sat in silence, his hand still holding hers, years of pain and regret hanging between them. "I don't know what I feel, Paul," she said finally, voice low. "But now's not the time. I just want to recover and know Mark and I are okay." Paul nodded, respecting her boundary. "I'll be here, Anna. I won't push. But thank you for everything." He stood, leaving the daisies on the bedside table, and left. Anna stared at the flowers, her heart torn. For the first time, the anger that had always driven her seemed to fade, giving way to something new, something that scared her. Meanwhile, Amanda visited Mark, who was waking slowly in the ICU. He smiled at her, but asked for Anna. "Where's Miss Anna, Mom? Is she okay?" Amanda felt a pang of jealousy, but forced a smile. "She's fine, sweetie. You will be too." But as she left the room, she saw Paul in the hallway, his face still wet with tears. "You were with her, weren't you?" she asked, voice sharp. Paul sighed, weary. "Amanda, stop. She just came out of surgery. It's not the time." But Amanda didn't back down. "Don't lie to me, Paul. I know what you feel for her. I always have." The argument was cut short by Dr. Emily, calling them to update on Mark. "He's responding well. If this continues, he'll be out of the ICU soon." The news brought relief, but didn't erase the tension between Paul and Amanda. She left the hospital without another word, heart heavy. At home, she looked at a family photo, her, Paul and Mark, smiling at a 4th of July barbecue. It felt like another life. She knew she was losing Paul, but what hurt most was realizing she might never have truly had him. Days later, Anna recovered slowly. Mark, now out of the ICU, improved daily, his eyes bright with new energy. He drew pictures for Anna, filling pages with suns and hearts. "Ah, you're my hero, Miss Anna," he said during a visit, holding her hand. Anna smiled, heart warmed but scared. Her bond with Mark was real, deep, and it left her vulnerable. She didn't want to care, but it was too late. Paul visited daily, bringing coffee, asking how she was. He kept the distance she asked for, but his presence was steady. One morning, sharing a quiet moment in her hospital room, he spoke softly. "I don't expect forgiveness, Anna, but I want you to know I've changed. Or I'm trying to." She looked at him, eyes tired but curious. "Why now, Paul, after everything?" He hesitated, then answered, "Because seeing you with Mark, your strength, it showed me what I lost." Anna nodded, heart conflicted. Amanda, meanwhile, made a choice. She couldn't live in Anna's shadow anymore. One night, while Paul slept on the couch, she wrote a letter. "I know you never loved me like you loved her. I was chasing you, choosing me. It was all ego. I'm leaving again, Paul. For Mark, I'll be around, but I can't pretend we have something. Before Mark's diagnosis, I was seeing Chris and asked for a break to focus on Mark's health. I'm going back to him. He's waiting." She left the letter on the table and walked out, tears falling as she drove to Chris's place. It was the end of an illusion. Anna returned to her apartment, trying to resume her routine. The silence, once a refuge, now felt empty without Mark's laughter or even Paul's hesitant talks. She kept Mark's drawing, a sun with a heart, at her bedside, and Paul's wilted daisies lingered, a reminder of what she tried to ignore. The surgery was a success, but the void in her chest remained. She wondered if she had the strength to let go of the pain, to make room for something new. Her bond with Mark warmed her but scared her. And Paul, he was dangerous ground, a place she feared to tread. At the hospital, Mark recovered faster than even Dr. Emily expected. His eyes shone with new life, and he asked for Anna daily. "When's Miss Anna coming, Dad?" he'd say, holding a new drawing of a house, a sun, and 3 stick figures holding hands. Paul smiled, heart heavy. "Soon, buddy. She needs rest." But he knew it wasn't just rest keeping Anna away. It was fear, hurt, the weight of all he'd caused. Amanda, now with Chris, rebuilt her life. The letter to Paul marked the end of a delusion, but not her bond with Mark. She visited him, bringing toys and books, and agreed with Paul that Mark would live with him, but spend weekends with her. "It's best for him," Paul said, and Amanda nodded, eyes down. "I just want him happy." But seeing Mark speak of Anna with such love stirred something in her, not jealousy anymore, but a growing guilt for what she'd done. Months passed, and Mark's routine stabilized. He went home with Paul, to a house full of love. On weekends, Amanda picked him up, and they spent hours playing, laughing, making memories. But Mark always asked for Anna. "I want to show her my drawing, Mom. She's my hero. She saved my life." Amanda smiled, but each mention of Anna was a reminder of the past. She knew Mark needed Anna, forcing her to face a painful truth. She'd destroyed something that wasn't hers. Paul found subtle ways to get closer to Anna. He'd show up at her hospital, bringing coffee, checking on her. At first, Anna kept her distance, her replies curt, her gaze firm. But slowly her walls began to crumble. One afternoon, over coffee in the hospital courtyard, he spoke with a sincerity that caught her off guard. "I don't expect you to trust me, Anna, but I want to show you I've changed. Not for what we were, but for who I want to be." She looked at him, eyes tired, but with a new spark. "It's not that simple, Paul, but I'm trying." Her bond with Mark only grew. He'd call, chattering about school, friends, his drawings. "Come to my house, Miss Anna. I want to show you my room," he'd say, voice bubbling with excitement. Anna, heart warmed, promised to visit. When she did, she found a home bursting with life. Toys scattered, drawings taped to the fridge. Mark ran to hug her, and Paul at the kitchen door watched with a shy smile. "You brought light here," he said softly, almost afraid to break the moment. Anna smiled, her heart racing faster than she'd admit. One weekend, while Mark was with Amanda, something shifted. They were at a park by Lake Michigan, playing near the water, when Mark pointed to a butterfly. "Look, Mum, it's like Miss Anna, free and strong." Amanda's chest tightened. She saw in Mark's eyes a pure love for Anna, one that didn't compete with his love for her, but was real, deep. That night, as Mark slept at Chris's, Amanda grabbed her phone. Her hands shook as she typed a message to Anna, rewriting it through tears until the words felt right. "Anna, I don't deserve your forgiveness. I came into your life like a shadow, destroyed your dreams, your love. I didn't know what I was doing, or maybe I did, but my ego blinded me. I saw Mark today, saw how he loves you, how you're part of his life. You gave him a chance, and I'll never forget that. Please forgive me, not for me, but for him, who deserves you without the weight of what I did. Thank you for being you." Anna read the message in her apartment's silence, heart pounding. Amanda's words were a knife, but one that freed rather than cut. She cried, not from anger but relief. A pain she'd carried for years seemed to dissolve. She replied, brief but sincere, "Thank you, Amanda. For Mark, we can move forward in peace." It was the closing of a cycle, a bridge to something new. Over time, Paul and Anna grew closer. Hospital talks turned into dinners at his place, always with Mark there, laughing and telling stories. One night, as Mark slept on the couch, they stood on the balcony, staring at the stars. "Ever think about what could have been?" Paul asked softly. Anna sighed, eyes on the sky. "I think about what can be, Paul. The past doesn't come back, but the future. Maybe we can build it." He looked at her, eyes shining, and for the first time she didn't look away. Days later, on a rainy afternoon, Paul showed up at Anna's apartment, nervous, hands in pockets, hair wet. "I had to see you," he said, voice rough. "I can't pretend I don't feel anything. You're everything I ever wanted, Anna, and I know I don't deserve it, but—" Before he finished, she stepped forward, eyes wet. "Shut up, Paul," she whispered, and in a rush that surprised them both, she kissed him. It was a kiss full of longing, forgiveness, hope. When they pulled apart, they laughed, like they were young again, like the world could be simple. Months flew by, and life took on new colors. Anna and Paul built something new, slowly, carefully, but with love. Mark was their bond, his joy lighting every moment. Amanda, now settled with Chris, stayed in Mark's life, taking him for weekends filled with love. She saw his happiness and for the first time felt she'd made the right choice letting Paul go. On Mark's 9th birthday, Paul's house was filled with balloons and laughter. Anna helped set the table, while Mark ran with friends, his face painted like a superhero. Amanda arrived with Chris, bringing a star-decorated cake, and greeted Anna with a genuine smile. "Thanks for everything," she said softly. Anna nodded, eyes shining. "We're family now, Amanda." For Mark. Paul, watching from afar, felt his heart swell. He wrapped an arm around Anna, whispering, "I love you." She smiled, squeezing his hand. "Me too." As Mark blew out his candles, everyone cheered. He looked at Anna, Paul, Amanda, and Chris, eyes sparkling. "My wish is for us to stay like this forever," he said, and they laughed, tears in their eyes. Music played. The sun shone outside, and for the first time the past didn't weigh them down. It was a new beginning, a new family, united by love and the courage to forgive. What did you think of the story? Share your thoughts and rate it from 0 to 10. Subscribe to the channel and click on the bell to follow all our stories. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video.